good. Okay, well, as I said, I'm Miss Pat. I have been teaching boys and girls for many, many years, and I have taught all of the grades that you're in, grade 1, grade 4, grade 5. I've taught all the way up to grade 12, which is the highest grade here. I assume it's the highest in China as well. And right now I'm teaching boys and girls in Canada, and I have several students like you who are from China, and I teach them on the internet. So in this course, as Uncle Michael said, we're going to be reading a novel, okay? So I'm just going to share with you a screen. Give you something to focus on besides me. Okay, so the novel that we're reading is called Stone Fox, and it's by a man named John Gardner. Very good. So John Gardner is, well, I think he died actually recently, so I should say he was American. He was an American man. So this novel, this book that we're going to study, is written in American English, okay? And not only, this book will teach you a lot about reading and writing, it'll also teach you a lot about America and the way Americans think and what they believe in and what they think is important, what we call their culture, okay, American culture. All right, now maybe you know a little bit about that already from movies and things like that, but this book will teach you a little bit more. Okay, so this is, if we had a paper copy of the novel, this is what the cover looks like. Okay, so you can see the author's name up here, John Reynolds Gardner, and there's the name Stone Fox. What do you see in the picture? What's happening in that picture? Does anybody have an idea? What's happening in that picture? What season is it? Start with that. What season is it, do you think?
A boy.
What do you say, Christy?
Let me think for a little time.
Okay. This looks a lot like how my house around me looks right now. A lot of pine trees and a lot of snow. A lot of snow right now I have. Maybe 2 feet of snow around me. Do you have any snow where you are? Any snow there, Stephen?
No.
No, it's cold and snowy here. Does it look cold in that picture? What do you think, George? When you look at that picture, does the temperature look cold?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, they're all wearing hats and scarves and mitts, and there's snow, so it's winter. It's very cold. What are they doing? Anybody know? What are they doing? Zoe?
The wasps are pulling the sled down the hill.
Very good. So what's pulling the sled? What is pulling the sled? Is it a horse? What is it?
It is a wolf.
It is Stephen, what is it?
I think it's dogs.
Dogs, that's right. They're big dogs. They're big dogs. They They're big, strong dogs, like husky dogs, Samoyed dogs, and they're pulling sleds. Very good. Okay, so the title is Stone Fox, but it's not foxes pulling the sleds. So we have to figure out as we read what stone fox means. So the setting in the story, does anybody, when I say the word setting, what does that mean? What am I asking you? What is the story's setting? Anybody know? No? That is where and when the story takes place. Okay, that's very important. There's 4 elements of story. There's setting, there's character, there's problem, there's solution. Okay, and I guess the 5th is theme. Okay, so setting means where and when the story takes place. Okay, so this is where it takes place. So does anybody know in this picture, what's the yellow country? It's like a pale yellow. What country is that? Zoe, do you know?
Canada.
It's Canada.
Canada, that's right. That's where I am right now. That's where Uncle Michael is right now, okay? That's why it's cold and snowy right now. And underneath Canada, if you were to drive south in your car, what country would you get to? Does anybody know what that white country is? What's that white country in the picture? It's a big, rich country.
USA.
Zoe? Sorry?
It's the USA.
It is. It's the USA, the United States of America. So you can call it, some people call it the USA, the US, the United States. America has lots of names, right? That's right. So, and does anybody know what the pale yellow country is? If I kept driving, I'd go all the way through the United States, and then what country would I get to? Does anybody know that?
Mexico. It's
Zoe.
Mexico.
Mexico, very good. So Mexico's hot, so you'd go all the way from freezing cold in Canada all the way to hot in Mexico. But this story takes place in the United States, and that red spot on the map, and that's a place in the United States called Wyoming. Did anybody say that? Wyoming. Wyoming.
Wow.
Wyoming, good. And it takes place about 100 years ago, okay? Over 100 years ago, okay? So, and it takes place on a farm, which is what most people did back then. So these are some pictures about what it would be like to farm back in Wyoming 100 years ago. Olden days, we call them, the olden days. Okay, so there's like a house, and you can see they would use horses, right? Don't have tractors or anything like that, just horses. Okay, so there's a cowboy on his horse, and there's a farmhouse behind him. Okay, so this is a story about these kind of people. That's what the fields would look like. Flat. Okay. And they grow in the fields. A big crop that they grow is this one. Anybody know what that is? I bet nobody knows what that is. I'll give you a hint. It starts with a P.
It's potato.
Potatoes! Good for you, Stephen. Yes, potatoes is what they grow. in Wyoming. When they're not riding around on their horses, they grow potatoes. So here's a picture of somebody in the olden days, and they're farming. So they don't have a tractor or anything like that, like I said. So the horse pulls them, and this wooden thing that the person is pulling is called a plow. And the plow digs deep into the dirt, into the soil. And the person has to really push it down too as the horse pulls it. So it's hard work, hard work. And just like in Canada, they have a very cold, long winter. So they also have mountains. It's flat, and then the Rocky Mountains start. So this house would be right beside the Rocky Mountains. So you can see that it's a farm, it's the snow, okay? There's the field in the winter. So on one side it's completely flat, and then the mountains start. Okay, but they don't always work, even though it would be a hard life, a harsh winter, lots of hard work. Sometimes they have fun. Does that look like the cover of our novel? What's going on there? Christy, what do you think's going on there? What's happening in that picture?
They are playing.
Yes. Who are these guys right out here in front?
They are dogs.
They are the dogs, and they're pulling somebody on a sled. So sometimes they take dog sleds out and ride around in the snow for fun, just for an activity. Okay, takes a lot of muscle to steer the dog sleds, but it's fun too, and they do that a lot. So they live, this story is the Old West. There it is again, see the mountains in the background, the kind of wagons they would use, okay? The Old West in the United States, okay? Looks very different from the cities that we live in today. That would be a schoolhouse in the Old West, one classroom, right? Just one classroom in the school, and all the farm kids would come. So if you were in grade 1, or you were in grade 5, or you were in grade 10, or you were in grade 12, you would all be in the same class with one teacher. It's funny, huh? But there wasn't enough kids to have separate classrooms. So there'd be one room schoolhouse with one teacher, all the kids in the same room. That would be the inside. What's this big thing in the middle? Who knows what this big metal thing is? What's that? What do you think that is? That's a stove, a wood stove. You put wood in there and it burns, and that would keep the kids warm. Okay, so they had to keep the schoolhouse warm, because the kids would go to school in the winter, and in the summer they would farm with their families. Okay, so I said one thing that's important in a story, one element is setting. The second element is characters. What does that word mean, characters? If I ask you a question about the characters in the story, who am I asking you about? Stephen, do you know? If I say the word character. Christy, you know? Character? Zoe, do you know? What is it?
It's named 人物.
Person in the story.
Person in the story.
That's right. the people in the story, or sometimes if it's a magical story, it could be the animals that are talking, right? So it's the people in the story, okay? And in this story, we have these characters. Willie, he's the main character. He's a little boy. And we have grandfather, Willie's grandfather, who takes care of Willie. Willie's parents have died, so he is looked after by his grandfather. And then we have a friend of the family. The doctor is their doctor, but also their friend. Then we have a character named Stone Fox, okay? And we have another character named Searchlight. And I'll tell you right now that Searchlight is Willie's dog, okay? Willie's dog. So now we know how we get the title of the book. It's a person in the book. Okay, do you have any questions so far? Anything you want to ask or comment on? No? Okay, so let's read. Okay, I've got a link here, but I'm going to show it on the screen today, okay? So we're going to read the some of the first the first chapter, sorry, of the novel. Do I have another student? Okay. You're not Kitty. Who are you there? My student there. I have Kitty's mom, and then is there a student there? No? Okay.
Sorry, teacher.
No.
My name is Jack.
Jack. Okay. Hi, Jack. Welcome. Okay. Welcome. Okay. So this is, can everybody see that? Yeah, this is the novel, Stone Fox. Okay. So so there are 10 chapters. Okay, there's a picture. Does anybody want to guess who this is? Who do you think that is? Stephen?
It's Willie.
Willie, that's right, that's Willie. I said he was a boy, right? And he's the main character. And who do you think that old man in bed is? Zoe?
I think he is
It's
Willie's
grandfather.
Willie's grandfather, very good. How do the people in this picture look? Do they look happy or sad?
They look sad.
Sad, they do, they look sad. I don't know, they're not crying or anything, but they're not smiling. They look kind of serious and sad, don't they? So we're gonna find out why. Okay, so let me just hide the sidebar, make this a bit bigger. Okay, is that big enough? Can everybody see that okay? Yeah, you can read that all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The grandfather couldn't get out of bed.
Okay, Christy, why don't you read out loud for us? Okay, can you read out loud for us?
Chapter 1. Grandfather. One day, grandfather wouldn't get out of bed. He just lay there and stared at the ceiling and looked sad. At first, little Willie thought he was playing. Little Willie lived with his grandfather on a small potato farm in Wyoming. It was hard work living on a potato farm, but it was also a lot of fun, especially when grandfather felt like playing, like the time grandfather dressed up as the scarecrow out in the garden. It took little Willie an hour to catch on. Boy, did she laugh. Grandfather laughed so hard he cried, and when he cried, his beard filled up with tears.
Very nice reading, Christy. Very well done. Thank you. Okay, so let's look at a few lines in here to make sure everybody's understanding. So when he says, it took little Willie an hour to catch on. What does that mean, to catch on? It's kind of a slang phrase. So if it takes you a long time to catch on, what is it taking you a long time to do? Or if I say, oh, he caught on really quickly. So you catch on quickly or you catch on slow. What are you doing? What does that mean? Can you think of another word that means the same thing as catch on? It means to understand, to figure it out. So grandfather was out in the field dressed like a scarecrow. And it took little Willie an hour to figure out that that's where he was. So it took him an hour to catch on, okay? What about this word, when he says, boy, did they laugh? What do they mean when they say boy? What do you know? That's something that Americans would say a lot. Say boy. What's another word that would mean the same as boy? You say, boy, did they laugh?
No, really no.
What did you say, Zoe?
She said it means, oh no.
Close. Oh no, it can be oh no. Or it can be, that could be like a reason why you're using the word. It could be like, it's more like a wow. Right, wow, did they laugh? Okay. Sometimes they say boy and sometimes they say man. So if you say you watched a movie, you could say, man, it was good. Or you could say, boy, it was good. Okay, so that's just an expression that a lot of Americans use. They don't say girl or woman, I don't know why, but they say boy or man. Okay, so what was grandfather doing to make little Willie try to figure out? What was grandfather doing?
Grandfather wouldn't get out of bed.
Okay, right now he won't get out of bed, right? He's just staring at the ceiling and looking sad. And I think now we've figured out what's happening in this picture, right? Grandfather won't get out of bed. And little Willie he's very confused, right? Do you think little Willie likes living with grandfather? What do you think, Stephen? Does he like living with grandfather?
Yes, I think. Yes, I think so.
You think so? Okay, can anybody pick out some words on this page that shows little Willie likes living with grandfather? Okay, so this is the question I'm asking you, like if it was like on a test, right? Can you find words on this page that prove or show little Willie likes living with grandfather? Okay, so reread it in there. The words that Christy read out loud, where's some words that show little Willie likes living with his grandfather? Okay, Zoe? Come on.
It's fun.
Yes, good for you. She says it's hard work, but it was also a lot of fun. Very good, very good. Yes, so this proves, if somebody asked you that question, does little Willie like living with grandfather? You could say, yes, he does. I know he does. On page 3, it says, it was a lot of fun. Good. Okay, so let's go on to the next page. Who would like to read this page for us? Does anybody like to read? Stephen or Jack, Zoe?
Father always got up. 读啊，你直接读就好了。
Stephen, would you like to read?
Grandfather always got up real early in the morning, so early that it was still dark outside. He would make a fire, then he would make breakfast and call little Willie, hurry up, or you'll be eating with the chickens, he would say. Then he would throw his head back and laugh. Once little Willie went back to sleep. When he woke up, he found his plate out in the chicken coop. It was picked clean. He never slept late again after that. That is, until this morning. For some reason, grandfather had forgotten to call him. That's when little Willie discovered that grandfather was still in bed. There could be only one explanation. Grandfather was playing. It was another trick. Or was it? Get up, grandfather, little Willie said. I don't want to play anymore. But grandfather didn't answer. Little Willie ran out of the house.
Okay, very good reading, Stephen. Very nicely done. Okay, so they tell a little bit more about what it's like to live with grandfather and all the tricks and games and fun that they have. So in the morning, when little Willie has to get out of bed very early, I guess to help around the farm. And then he has to do probably some farm chores. And then he has to go to school. So remember what I said about in the old days, especially farm kids had to work very hard. So they'd probably do an hour or 2 of working on the farm, and then they would walk to school and do a whole day of school. And then they'd come home and they'd do more work on the farm. So he had to get up really early, right? And what happened one day when little Willie didn't get up? So grandfather called him, and instead of getting up, little Willie just rolled over in his bed and went back to sleep. Remember, they don't have alarm clocks, right? So the only thing to wake up little Willie is grandfather. So what happened? What happened when he just went back to sleep? Did grandfather yell at him? George, did grandfather yell at little Willie when little Willie went back to sleep? Did
No.
he hit him and yell at him? No, he didn't yell. Did he hit him?
No.
He spanked him or anything? No, he didn't. Did he give him some, did he say, you can't play with your friends on Saturday because you didn't get out of bed? Did he say anything like that?
No.
No. So what did he do? What did he do to teach Willie a lesson so he would get out of bed on time? What did he do? Anybody know? I want you to try to figure it out.
His grandfather put his plate out in the chicken coop.
That's right. So his grandfather had made him a nice breakfast, right? A nice breakfast. And he put it on the plate, I guess. Yeah. Good, Zoe. Eating, so he could put it on the breakfast table in the kitchen for Willie to eat. But when Willie didn't get out of bed, because he was sleeping too long, grandfather put his plate in the chicken coop where all the chickens live. And the chickens ate the breakfast. It was picked clean. The chickens were like eating little bits of his breakfast until finally there was no breakfast left for Willie. And then he learned his lesson, didn't he? He never slept late again. But today, something is wrong. And so, remember I said there was elements in the story. The first one is the setting, where and when the story takes place. We know that now. And then there's the characters. Who is in the story? And the third thing is the problem. What's the problem in the story? And we're starting to figure out what the problem is. What is the problem in this story? Who knows? Who's got an idea what the problem in this story is? Hey, what happened to my, just a second. I lost my novel, just a sec. So what is the problem in the story? What's going wrong? What's upsetting little Willie? What's going wrong? Something's different today than usually. Zoe, what is it? What's different today than usual?
Maybe grandfather didn't get up and call little Willie.
Exactly. Good for you, Zoe. Yes. Today, grandfather didn't get up. He says he always got up early, made a fire, and then he would make breakfast, and he'd wake up little Willie and they'd have breakfast together, and then they would do their work around the farm, right? And today, nobody woke up little Willie. And when he went to find grandfather, grandfather is just lying in bed. So there's something wrong with grandfather. That's a problem. Okay. So little Willie is scared and he runs out of the house. So who would like to read this page? We've had Stephen read and we've had Christy read. George, would you like to read?
Yes.
Okay.
A dog was sleeping on the front porch. Come on, searchlight.
Good.
Little Willie cried out. The dog jumped to its feet and together they ran off down the road. Searchlight was a big black dog. She had a white spot on her forehead, the size of a silver dollar. She was an old dog.
Good.
Actually born on the same day as little Willie, which was over 10 years ago. A mile down the road, they came to a small log cabin surrounded by tall trees. Doc Smith was sitting in a rocking chair under one of the trees, reading a book. Doc Smith, little Willie called out. He was out of breath. Come quickly. Come quick. What seems to be the matter, Willie? The doctor asked, continuing to read.
Good.
Doc Smith had snow white hair and wore a long black dress. Her skin was tan and her face was covered with wrinkles.
Very well done, George. Very well done. Good work. Okay, so little Willie runs out of the house. Where does he go? Where does he go? Jack, do you know where he goes? So he goes, like he was at his house, right? He was out here. Grandfather would not get out of bed. So little Willie ran out of the house. And he runs down the road. A mile down the road, they came to a small log cabin. So where is he running to? Who is he gone to get? Who is he gone to get? George, who did he go to get? Not George, sorry, Jack. Jack, who did he go to get? To tell.
He went for a doctor.
That's right, he goes to a doctor. So this is another character in the story that I told you about, right? So we've met Willie, we've met grandfather, and now we meet Dr. Smith, or they call her Doc. Doc Smith for short. Okay, instead of saying the whole word doctor, they shorten it to Doc. Okay, so Doc Smith is living down the road and Willie goes to run and get her. Okay, which is a good idea, right? If there's something wrong and you think your grandfather is sick or there's something wrong with him, you run to get a doctor. Today, maybe we would telephone, but they didn't have telephones back then. Okay, so we also meet another character in the story, but this character is not a person. What character is that we're meeting? Christy, do you know who it is? Somebody that Willie calls to right away after he leaves the house.
He leaves the house. He meets Searchlight.
Searchlight, that's right. And that's another character, Searchlight, his dog. So we can look at this description. Okay, it was a big black dog with a white spot on her forehead, the size of a silver dollar. Silver dollar is quite large, probably be about this big. Okay, so when we look at the cover, let me just see if I can find that picture again. Yeah, just get that. Okay, which one is Searchlight? Which dog is Searchlight? What do you think? Zoe, which one is Searchlight? One of these white dogs or this black dog?
The black dog.
The black dog said she was a big black dog with a white spot. That's right, on her forehead, right there. And so who is this then? Who do you think this one is?
Willie?
Willie, that's right. So we don't know about this guy yet. Okay, so let me just go back to the story. Alrighty, so we find out on this page as well how old Willie is. Did anybody notice? What number did we read in this page? How old is Willie? I'll give you a hint where it is. It's in this paragraph. How old is
He
She was 10.
What's the number in that paragraph? Jack, can you find it? What number is in that paragraph? Can you read a number?
so 10.
It's near the end. 10, that's right. So Searchlight and little Willie are born on the same day. So they're both 10 years old. Very good. Okay, so let's see what Doc Smith has to say. Who would like to read this page? I don't know if there's some other people who would like to read. We've heard Stephen has read, and Christy has read, and George has read. Is there anybody else who would like to read?
Yes, I can.
You want to read again, George? Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead then, dear.
Grandfather won't answer me, little Willie said. Probably just another trick. Doc Smith replied, nothing to worry about. But he's still in bed. Doc Smith turned a page and continued to read. How late did you two stay up last night? We went to bed early, real early. No singing or music or anything. Doc Smith stopped reading. Your grandfather went to bed without playing his harmonica. She asked.
Good.
Little Willie nodded. Doc Smith shut her book and stood up. Hitch up Rex for me.
For me.
Willie, she said, I'll get my bag. Rex was Doc Smith's horse. He was a handsome
Palomino.
Palomino. Little Willie hitched Rex to the wagon, and then they rode back to grandfather's farm. Searchlight ran on ahead, leading the way.
Very good. Excellent reading, George. Very good. So at first, Doc Smith isn't too worried, is she, about grandfather, just because he doesn't get out of bed? What does she think it is at first? What does she think grandfather is doing at first? She says, oh, it's just another what? Another what? Christy, what is it? She thinks, oh, it's just another what?
She thinks that was another trick.
Yeah, she says, oh, he's just joking. He's just fooling around again. Your grandfather's a joker. He's always playing tricks, right? To make people laugh. But Willie's like, no, this is no trick. This is no joke, right? And Doc Smith says, oh, you must have stayed up late last night. He's just tired. But Willie says, no, we went to bed early. We didn't have any music. And that catches Doc Smith's attention, doesn't it? So what do Willie and grandfather always do in the evening before they go to bed? What do they always do? But they didn't do it this night. What do they always do? Zoe?
They always sing and do music or anything.
Very good. Now remember, this is a day where there was no computers, so no video games or anything. There was no television. There were no telephones either where you could dial up a friend. There was no, music that you can play on your computer or on your headphones or whatever. So you have to make your own fun. And so they would make their own fun by singing and playing an instrument to make music, right? So they can't put on digital music like we can, downloaded music. They have to make their own music. So they use an instrument, right? It's not a piano, not a guitar. What instrument does grandfather play to make music?
Harmonica.
What instrument? Who knows? Okay.
Harmonica.
Harmonica, yes. A harmonica. Who has ever seen a harmonica? Who's seen a, put your hand up like this if you've seen a harmonica. Yeah, you have, Zoe? Good. Anybody else ever seen a harmonica? I don't know what the name of it is in Chinese, but it's about this big, about the size of like a candy bar, and it's got holes in it. It's made out of metal, and you blow into it. Or you move it up, back, and forth across your mouth, and you can play a tune by blowing into the holes. Christy, have you seen one? Good. So that's what he plays. So I guess he plays a tune on the harmonica, and then they sing a song, and that's how they have some fun in the evening when it's dark, right? They only have like candles and a fire. and they have a little fun because it's too dark. Even if you had a book, it would be too hard to read the book because it's so dark. So instead they sing and grandmother plays the harmonica. So when Doc Smith finds out that they didn't have any music, she knows there must be something wrong with grandfather. Okay, and what does she tell Willie to do? What does she say? She shuts her book, she stands up, and she tells Willie to do something. What does she tell Willie to do? Jack, what does she tell Willie to do? Down here.
I'll get my bag.
Yes. So she goes and gets her doctor's bag, right? With all of her medicines and tools like her, her stethoscope and all those things that doctors use. And she tells Willie, okay. Can you read that line for me, Jack?
He trapped Rex for me. Really, she said, I'll get my bag.
Very good. So who is Rex? Who knows who Rex is? Stephen, who's Rex? She says, hitch up Rex.
It's a horse.
It's her horse. She doesn't get in her car and drive to Willie's house because there are no cars. So Willie takes Doc's horse, which is a palomino. A palomino is a type of horse that has different colors, like parts of it'll be brown and parts of it'll be white, right? Instead of being like all brown or all white or all black, it has patches. So he hitches up Rex to a little wagon. So little Willie and Doc Smith can go back to little Willie's house and find out what's wrong with grandfather. And Searchlight, he doesn't go in it's a she dog, I should say, it's a female. Searchlight runs ahead, right? She doesn't go in the wagon, she runs back. Okay, and there's a nice picture. So there's Doc Smith waiting in her wagon. There's little Willie, and there's little Willie's horse, Rex. Not little Willie's horse, Doc Smith's horse, Rex. Rex is that horse's name. And he's going to take the horse and put it in front of the wagon and put the straps on the horse. And then Doc Smith will say, giddy up, giddy up. And then the horse moves and pulls them, right? Okay, so I don't think there's still a couple more pages, 3 more pages in this chapter. And we don't have time to read them because I think our hour's up. But this is a trial class. But what I would do if this wasn't a trial class is I would, at the end of the class, I would ask you to read the last 3 pages on your own and then answer with writing some questions about the story and hand them back to me. That way we get practice reading and understanding the story. We get practice speaking English and learning new vocabulary, learning new words. And then we get practice writing. And I would check your writing and check your grammar and spelling. Okay? Is there any questions? Does anybody have any questions for me? Who liked the story so far? Do you like that story so far? It gets a lot better. Okay, so we know the problem is that there's something wrong with grandfather, but how we solve that problem is most of the story, and it's very exciting, and it does have to do with a dog sled race. Okay, any other questions?